Oh no, not one of these again. How does this even happen? Look at this parts list. Look at this parts list. It's totally insane. Hi, welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. This is Boost My Build, the series where we take your PC build list, we tear them up, we put them back together and massively increase your performance. And oh my goodness, we've got two crazy builds. The first one is a $2,200 US, 2,000 euro massive build with a completely imbalanced CPU GPU combo, and we've got a $550 Ryzen update from a Ryzen 2600X. Can we actually save it and take it from 1080p medium settings up to 1440p? Remember, if you get value out of the video, give it a like, so it makes a huge difference to the channel, and of course subscribe. Click that bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. With that, let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by Delete Me. Right now, your data is being sold to email spammers, robocallers, and leaving you at risk for fraud or identity theft. Getting data brokers to remove your data, it's insanely difficult by yourself. Don't give up. Get Delete Me. Delete Me's advanced tools and team of experts make removing your information easy. They give you regular reports on data removals, and they keep on protecting your data year-round. Take back control of your data by going to joindeleteme.com/PC20 or use the link in the video description to receive 20% off a protection plan today. All right, we've got Jaskers. They say thanks for the great videos. They've learned a lot. They want to build a PC for gaming, but predominantly CPU-intensive games like Civilization, Stellaris, and the upcoming City Skylines 2, which promises to use all the CPU cores for sim purposes, and they need more than 32 gigs of RAM. They don't care as much about FPS. Their budget is 2,000 euros, and they're in Germany. All right, let's see what you got. Oh no, not one of these again. How does this even happen? Look at this parts list. Look at this parts list. It's totally insane. Let's take a step back here. You did finish under your budget. Good on you. But as I look at this thing, and once you kind of wrap your brain around all these parts, terrible CPU GPU combo going on here, you have like gone all in on the CPU, and we've completely under-invested in our GPU. And you're like, I don't care about FPS, Jason. I just want faster turn times. Yeah, until you start scrolling around in the map and it's like super stuttery everywhere, then you're gonna be like, oh, maybe I should have invested a little bit more in my GPU, right? First of all, like I said, you finished at 1,975 euros, and I'm just not even seeing that level of performance here. Let's jump in the GPU. This is the biggest culprit of it. You went with an RTX 3060 12 gigabyte card. You're spending upwards of 2,000 euros. That's 2,200 US dollars. And how do we only walk away with a 3060? Just kind of blows my mind. Again, once you start scrolling through all these cities with all the animation and stuff going, it's going to look like a stuttery mess as you're scrolling through. Yeah, your turn time and the sims and everything, that'll be a little bit faster, but it's just going to look crap. And we don't want that. You should, for 2,000 bucks, you should have a smooth gameplay experience. The CPU, i7-13700K, again, with the 3060, it's just like, why are we doing this? This is a CPU that needs lots of power, so we need to get an expensive power supply. It needs a big cooler, so we need an expensive one. This is not the way. I think if we want to go this way, I would really look at Ryzen 7000, the 7900. For the cooler, I see a lot of the Noctua stuff here, so clearly we've got like the Noctua brain virus has infected us here. We're going to spend 108 euros on this cooler that frankly is, in my opinion, is obsolete. There are coolers that are as performative as this one right here for far less money. Are we really going to spend like 50 euros extra on this cooler just to get the Noctua kind of brown bag fan looking thing? No, I don't think that's a good use of our money. The board, I don't mind the MAG Z790 Tomahawk, pretty good board. It's got upgraded audio on it. It's got Wi-Fi. Overall, good board. Don't have a lot of complaints about that. I like the RAM you went with. You were going 64 gigabytes. I want to ask you if you really need it. I looked this up. Only for the like max stuff do you need any more than 32 gigs. And the game will run just fine apparently with 32 gigs, which is kind of the standard DDR5 kit. Once you go above that, you're spending an extra 100 plus euros because it's not as price efficient on the 32 gig DIMMs as it is on the 16 gig DIMMs. So it just, it really hurts to spend this much. And I don't necessarily recommend 4x16 either. It's kind of hard on the controller, especially if we're going to run this tighter timing 5600 CL28 stuff. I mean, I'm not a big fan of it. Okay, the drive, Samsung 980 Pro 2, we're already kind of bleeding a lot of money on things. We've completely undersized our GPU. I just don't understand why we're spending this much money on, yes, it's a super fast production quality drive, but we don't really need that. We would be fine with a Gen 3 drive with some DRAM on it. That's not going to impact our gameplay here. So again, I just feel like we're bleeding money in areas we don't really need to. I don't mind the Corsair 4000D. I hate that it doesn't come with enough fans. I know you like the Noctua, clearly you do, but look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4. We've added 5 additional Noctua fans, anywhere from like 27 to 30 euros each. Ouch, that's like 150 freaking euros or something like that. Some crazy amount on just fans. Again, we're going with a 3060. Like, can you imagine if we had just gotten some better looking fans? To me, black fans, standard black fans in this thing, where we got a case that came with included fans, how much more we could be spending on our GPU. And that's the thing that's going to carry us through in the years to come. You're also buying a Windows 11 Pro license for like 50 extra euros. I don't mind if you want to buy one directly from Microsoft, but why are we spending all this extra money on the Pro? Buy the Home Edition, you'll be absolutely fine. Finally, the power supply, yeah, you went with a 1000 watt unit, and you had to, even though we have a relatively small and power efficient GPU, that 13700K just sucks down so much wattage that we have to go with a 1000 watt PSU. And again, we're spending extra money here. We're spending 160 euros on our power supply now. It's a good unit, absolutely great unit, A tier rated. I continue to recommend the RME, and pretty good in terms of the price. I got to say, Corsair for the RME lineup, they have really come down in price. I had 2 thumbs up to Corsair. Typically, they've been very, very expensive, so I like that. But I hate that we have to go this route. All told, 1975, I'm just not seeing the performance here. You're spending 2,000 euros, 2,200 US dollars. You deserve to get amazing performance for this level, and we can give it to you. Call this the way better 2,000 euro simulation game experience, because you are going to have way better experience. You're going to get the awesome turn time that you're looking for, the awesome compute you're looking for, and we're going to give you way better GPU and graphic experience as well. And this build's going to last a much longer time. I finished out at 1,970 euros. 1,970 euros. In fact, I think that's like 3 euros less than you finished at, and we're going to get way more performance. Let's start off with the GPU. We're going to go with the RTX 4070, and I'm getting you one of these slightly more premium. I spent an extra like 30 or 40 euros to get you the Palette Gaming Pro one. It's got 3 fans. It's got some cool styling too. It's got a heavier duty cooler to it. It seems to me you wanted all that other kind of Noctua stuff because you want it to be quiet. So I went ahead and I just got you a more premium one. Now, Palette's not a brand that I have a lot of experience with. They don't ship a lot to the US. They're big in Europe. I know they're big in Europe. And I read some reviews on this card, 2 thumbs up on it. If you don't like this one, feel free to grab a different one. You can get one cheaper if you want. And you want to ask, well, Jason, how much more FPS am I really going to get? Let's look at TechSpot's. This is from their 4060 Ti review, so the data is relatively recent. Let's take a look here. Here's your 3060 down here, 56 average FPS in their 15 game benchmark at 1440p, largely using high or ultra settings. What does the 4070 get? 102 FPS. It's more than double. It's more than double. I mean, my goodness, what were you doing to yourself for $2,000? What were you doing to yourself? You are going to thank me when you start scrolling through these maps and everything. You're able to play in 4K or 1440p or whatever resolution you want, at the details turned all the way up. You're gonna love it. So for the CPU, I went with a Ryzen 9 7900. I almost went with the 7800 X3D. Now, in some simulation games, the X3D CPUs perform way better, like Factorio. They smoke anything else out there. But for like City Skylines, for Civ turn time, the Vcache is somewhat important, but not as important, because the Ryzen 7900 slightly beats out the 7800 X3D in terms of overall turn time, and it ties the 13700K. And in Cinebench, they're identical performance between the 13700K and the 7900. Now, I figure you're going to want to push the CPU, so we're going to abandon the box cooler, although you could use it. You're going to turn on Precision Boost Overdrive, and I got you a much more performative cooler. I got you the Deep Cool AK620, which is going to give you the same performance as that Noctua for like almost half the price, for like 70 euros instead of 110 euros. This is nice and quiet. It's going to run right nice and cool for that 7900. And again, you're going to get the same level of CPU performance as you were with that 13700K. Now for the motherboard, for whatever reason, the B650 Tomahawk is like stupidly priced in Germany. I'm sorry about that. In the US, it's actually one of the more affordable higher end B650 motherboards. So I went ahead and just selected the Asus TUF Gaming B650 plus Wi-Fi, currently for 204 euros. This comes with Wi-Fi. It comes with improved audio on it. It's got pretty good rear panel connectivity to it. I went ahead and kept your RAM kit. I would recommend 5600 CL28. That's going to give you the best level of performance. It's basically the same as 6000 CL30, right? Except that you're not going to have the problem with some of the B650s don't want to clock up to that full rated speed of 6000. So that's good. 212 euros out there for 64 gigs. Maybe start with 32 and then add some down the line. But if you want to go this route, we've put it in the budget. For the drive, I just went ahead and went with a standard PCIe Gen 3 drive out there. You don't need anything stupidly expensive. You can get this right now at Amazon Germany for like 90 euros. 90 euros instead of like 130 euros. We cleaned up that whole case mess with all the extra fans. It was going to cost us like, I don't know, 250 euros or some ungodly amount. And instead, we went with a Fractal Pop Air. And I know you want everything slightly more premium, it seems, so I went with the Pop Air XL, which is a slightly bigger case. It comes with an extra fan in the front, more airflow. I really think you're going to like this case. It's got everything you need. It's all pre-installed. You're not going to have to worry about wiring and all that kind of stuff. And this is just a really, really super nice case. It's got great airflow to it. Overall, I got to tell you, for about 100 euros instead of 250 euros, this is the right direction to go. And if you don't like the RGB for whatever reason, just turn it off. Good news is this build only needs about 650 watts. I decided to go ahead and get you the Corsair RM750E. It's 112 euros instead of, it's basically going to save us like 40 or 50 euros here. The thing I like about this, if you get the 2023 model, is that with that NVIDIA connector, that 12 volt, the 12 pin rather, high power connector, it actually comes with the connector for that. So you can go straight from there into the GPU. You don't have to worry about the adapter or anything. Really do like that. A tier rated PSU, 2 thumbs up. Windows license, I just switched out to the home license just to save you some money. Again, no real loss of functionality, but for 1970 euros, you got a hugely performative CPU that's gonna completely tie that 13700K at a fraction of the power usage and cooling requirements. We're gonna dump that money back into a GPU that's gonna be double the performance of the one that you were looking at with the 3060. We're going with the RTX 4070. We right-sized the case, we right-sized the power supply. We got you a nice motherboard. We got you an insane level of performance. I hope you feel like your build is boosted. We got Joker. Joker says, I want to upgrade my personal rig. Definitely need more storage, more CPU power, better GPU. Can you help me boost my build? They use it mostly for gaming, but they want to start doing video editing and watching YouTube, etc. Well, good news is watching YouTube is probably the easiest thing that you can do. Let's see what you got. This looks like your current build. Now, you haven't given me a budget for your total upgrade. I'm going to guess we're going to spend somewhere between $500 and $600 to refresh this PC, but let's take a look. Got a Ryzen 5 2600, so you're on AM4. Good news is AM4 upgrades are so much easier. Intel upgrades are pretty much, yeah, go ahead and get a new platform, basically, build a new PC. But you got the Ryzen 5 2600, okay, fantastic. And you've got the Gigabyte B450 Aorus M. This is a micro ATX motherboard. It's got one M.2 slot. It's only got 4 SATA ports on it too. Just know that, and I know you don't have an M.2, it's gonna disable half the SATA ports when we plug in an M.2. That's just a function of these boards. B450 boards didn't have a ton of connectivity to them. They do have a lot of rear panel connectivity. I really do like this board. I did like it, years ago for all the rear panel connectivity you got with it. Really, really good little motherboard. And with a BIOS update, we'll be able to run a 5600, 5800 X3D. All right, for the RAM, you've got 4 sticks basically of DDR4, 3200 CL16, the 4-stick approach. You got 32 gigs, good. So that basically you're getting dual rank as well as dual channel. Would it be nice if we could come up to 3600 CL16? Sure. It's only about $48 to do so, but you're going to go from 32 gigs to 16 gigs. I don't think that's a big deal for you, but it's one of the things that we'll consider upgrading. You got a couple of SATA drives in there. You got a tiny little SATA drive, a 2.5-inch 240 gig drive. Clearly we need some more storage, you're saying. You also have a Crucial MX500, 1 terabyte. These are actually pretty good drives. They got DRAM on them. I used to recommend them back in the day. I used to recommend them all the time. Now, obviously we love M.2. It's interesting to note that you don't have any M.2 drives right now. Pretty common for a build built whenever probably you built this, probably about 4 years ago. For the GPU, we've got a GTX 10, 66 gigabyte. Yeah, unfortunately, these things are increasingly trash because they've only got 6 gigs of VRAM. If you got an RX 580 back in the day with 8 gigs, that I would say maybe you could hold on to. But I definitely think this GPU, it needs to get upgraded at this point. The biggest challenge you're gonna have is your power supply. You only have a 450 watt EVGA BR unit. and it's C tier rated. Now these units, they're fine. They're double forward. Some people don't like them. It is what it is. I'm willing to come down a little bit on my typical advice in terms of upgrading on the power supply if we can't afford to get a new one. I know PSUs are stupidly expensive right now, and that's definitely gonna cut into our upgrade budget. Basically, for this build right here, you're looking at 1080p medium-ish levels of performance, and I think we can actually upgrade you for somewhere around $500-ish to 1440p high frame rates. So I want to talk a little bit about how we're going to approach the upgrade given the build that we just went through. So this is TechSpot's data. This is a scaling thing that they did a couple years ago. 4 years of Ryzen CPUs with Ryzen 1600, 2600, 3600, 5600, and different GPU levels. Now, people are like, look at this. Oh my gosh, I can't buy any of these GPUs anymore. Yeah, that's fine. The 5600 XT is faster than your 1060. It's quite a bit faster than your 1060. So you can see here, changing out the CPU, that's not really going to help you. This is at 1080p high quality right here. It's not going to help you. You're getting 74 FPS even with a faster GPU. So just changing out the CPU, that's not really going to help us. We definitely want to invest a lot of money in changing out the GPU. Now the RX 5700 XT up here, you can see changing out the CPU wouldn't make any difference either. Now that's about the performance level of an RX 6600 non-XT. Now you can get those for $179. That's a viable option. It's got 8 gigs of VRAM, but honestly, if we're gonna spend money, I really wanna see if we can get at least 10, possibly 12 gigs of VRAM and get you up to 1440p levels of performance. That would be closer to a 3070 here. And at the level of 3070, you can see the difference between, say, your 2600X and a 5600X. Yeah, that's about 20 something percent. It's about 20% difference to also upgrade the CPU. The good news is the CPU upgrades are super cheap. You can get a Ryzen 5600, has been going as low for 130. I think we can get ourselves a pretty good upgrade here. And we're gonna approach this trying to get the biggest GPU we can and jump up to the 5600X. I don't really see any need to jump up to the 5800X 3D, which is almost $300, unless you plan to spend a lot more money to upgrade the system and get a bigger GPU. That's the way I'd go. All right, I called this the $550 1440p. Here we come, because we are going to 1440p. That poor little GTX 1060 6GB GPU is probably struggle busing it right now at medium settings at 1080p. We're gonna chuck that thing. Go ahead and sell it used if you want. Give it to your brother. Who knows what you can do with it? Because for $552, $552.82. This is gonna feel like a brand new PC for you. You're gonna be able to do all your video editing on it. You're gonna be able to play games at 1440p high frame rates. Let's go into this. I felt like the RX 6700 XT, this is really where I would start. Now, if you absolutely decide that, oh, I have to have NVIDIA because I'm gonna become a super professional video editor, then go ahead and get the 3060 instead. It's a little bit cheaper. $309 though for the 6700 XT. This has so much more performance, 12 gigs of VRAM, so does the 3060, but this has so much more rasterized performance than the 3060, and will edit just fine for what most people will do. Again, if you're not professionally 40 hours a week doing the editing, I would get this right here. You are gonna feel the power of 1440p. You're gonna be playing all those games, super high settings. Some of those titles you're gonna get 100 plus FPS, especially if you play things like Fortnite, League of Legends, World of Warcraft, and it's gonna somewhat future-proof you for a while because of that 12 gigs of VRAM. I went with the 5600. You can't always go with the 5800X 3D in the future. It may get down to $200 at some point. Right now, I'm focused on, you don't need that much more CPU power to get that much more out of your GPU that you're currently buying. So the 5600X is gonna give you tons and tons of frames. And right now, $138. It's come back down. It had been $150 after the Prime Day sales, but it's coming back down as it comes back in stock at all these outlets. It's got an included box cooler, just absolutely phenomenal CPU. Quick note on upgrading, make sure before you pull out your old CPU that you update the BIOS on your Gigabyte B450 Aorus motherboard, the micro ATX version, to a BIOS that will work with the 5600. Just go ahead and update it to the latest non-beta version. That's what I would do. And I do want to give you one other tip. tip, just note that when we do add in our storage M.2 right here, that on this motherboard, like a lot of B450 motherboards, it's going to disable half of your SATA ports. The manual will tell you which ones it's going to disable. You have SATA drives, just make sure they're plugged into ports that are not going to be disabled, or go ahead and just plug them into a different port. Otherwise, you're going to be like, what happened to my drives? They're gone. No, they're not gone. They're just on ports that have now been disabled because it's using that connectivity for the M.2. I stuck it out with your RAM. If you want to spend another $48, take this all the way to $600, you can get 16 gigs of DDR4 3600 CL16, make the CPU slightly more performative, but honestly, for this GPU level, I don't really think you need it. I think you're pretty much squeezing out all the frames you can out of it. If you want to get it to future-proof for future GPUs, you certainly can. Right now, it's absolutely dirt cheap. For the drive, for the M.2, you can go one of two ways. I went 1 terabyte A60, just wanted to keep it around $550. If you don't mind going all the way to 600, spend the rest of your money right here and get a 2 terabyte drive because you only have one M.2 slot. So you want to make sure to get this one right. For the power supply, I went with the Apevia Prestige. It's 800 watts. It just happens to be the cheapest unit. You need 650 at a minimum, I would say, based on 1.5 times your max draw in PC Part Picker here. So this is the cheapest one right now, $66. This is going to give you tons of room for future expandability. We definitely need more wattage. That portable 450 is just not going to cut it. So for $552, we are going to get you a system capable of playing 1440p levels of performance. You're going to be able to do all your video editing that you want to do. We're going to get you a full terabyte more storage, or if you want to invest a little bit more, you can get 2 more terabytes of storage. And overall, you're just going to get insane levels of upgraded performance. So I hope you feel like your build is boosted. There's a great new way to support the channel. We're launching channel memberships and you can be part of it. You'll get cool emojis that you can use in the video comments, early access to behind the scenes content, and exclusive live stream events for members. Click the join button below the video to check out everything and help support the channel. Thank you so much for your support, and we'll catch you on the next one.